This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtain on the good, the bad, and the shocking stories of sugar dating. I'm Nikki. I'm solo today while Marcus is in Mexico. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, I'll give you some information on how you can find us. We have a website at secretsofasugardaddy.com. We also have a Patreon group, Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. We're on YouTube and also Instagram at Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. How's everyone doing today? First of all, I want to thank you for the feedback that you gave me after last week's episode. That was truly a very last-minute decision that Marcus and I made about 5 minutes before we were ready to record. And I really appreciate the comments that came through after that on the WhatsApp group, the Patreon group, private texts to me, and someone even reached out on Seeking. So I really appreciate that. If you have listened to this podcast before, you'll know that I am quite a planner. And I have gotten better about that over the years, but there's still not much that I can do with a 3 or 4 minute notice, except, well, maybe pee on demand. I can do that. However, that's a skill that is of no use to me. So anyway, I'm glad that you gave me a little bit of grace last week. I appreciate that. And I have got a packed episode for you today. I'm a little more grounded today because Marcus and I made this decision earlier in the week for me to go solo. So really today, and I have to tell you, in Phoenix and Scottsdale right now, we have horrible allergy weather. There's some wind kicking up, there's some dust kicking up, so it's affecting my voice a little bit. But I have water here, so I may be taking a couple quick drinks as we go. And so if you hear a little bit of silence for a second or two, do not worry. I have not ghosted you. Anyway, what I want to talk about today, and hopefully I have time for all of this, cops on Seeking, an update on my vanilla cop who is not on Seeking, an update on my potential guy that I met on Field, texting protocol, sex clubs, my kink, a lot of different topics. So buckle up and make sure you listen all the way through so that you don't miss anything. And on a couple of these topics, I'm going to need everyone's opinion in the chats, in the Patreon group, on the WhatsApp group, because some of these things I'm really not sure of myself. So, all right, let's get started. I was introduced to a woman who wanted to be involved in the sugar community. She was in a long-term sugar relationship where he was providing for her, and it kind of went south. So she moved out and she's not really sure if the relationship is going to continue or not. So in the meantime, she wants to get on Seeking and do some sugar dating. And she was introduced to me and asked a bunch of questions. And one of the things she is really worried about is cops on Seeking. And, you know, when she brought that up to me, I was not sure what to say to her because I guess in the back of my mind, I knew that there were cops on Seeking. I mean, I would assume there are, But I have been so busy trying to weed out the losers on Seeking from the premium men that I hadn't spent any time trying to think about how to weed out the cops from the premium men. So when she brought it up to me, I really wasn't sure what to tell her. I think we all know that it's important not to talk about money on the site. And she was doing that. She was putting her fees right out there in the messages, or she would ask the guys what they would pay, and then they would put an amount in the messages right on the site. So I think we all know that was a bad idea. And I've been trying to suggest to her to get off the site and do her chatting on her Google Voice. Then she told me she doesn't have a Google Voice. She didn't realize that she should do that. So she really is a novice, just like we all are when we first start. And I'm wondering, though, I don't know a whole lot about the legal aspect of this. It would be actually great if we could get a cop here on the show as a guest to inform us a little bit about what it is from their side of things. But even if you get off the site and you start talking money through Google Voice, I don't know, is that considered solicitation? And if a woman doesn't bring it up, but the man brings up the pricing, is he trying to solicit her? I mean, is that how it would be perceived legally? And really what I told her, like the reason why I haven't worried about it too much is because I don't talk money on the site. And then even when I get off the site, I don't really always talk money until after I meet them. So when we're on the meet and greet, it comes up and it's more of an organic conversation. I think in my past experience, they've brought it up. But once you're in a consistent dating type of scenario, it can't be seen as solicitation because escorts don't date their clients. So I think the whole point is to try to enter into some kind of an arrangement as soon as you can, as soon as you know that there is chemistry, to try to enter into some kind of consistent dating or arrangement or something. So that way you can't be told that you are soliciting. I mean, I think that is sort of common sense, but in her case, she is kind of in a hurry because suddenly her provider has stopped providing and she doesn't work. So she's trying to really snag as many men as possible right away. And I think that kind of mentality will probably get anyone in trouble because it shows desperation. So if anybody out there has any thoughts on this, like at what point is it considered or could it be considered solicitation if there were a cop on Seeking? And the other point is that once you're off Seeking and you're talking money, can they still say that you're soliciting, or can they only try to say that if you're on the site doing it? I'm really confused about the dynamics of that. So she is learning as she goes. And in a way, it's like the blind leading the blind because I'm still fairly new at this. I mean, I was thinking about that today. I think I've been at it for about 10 months and still learning. But the important thing is that we talked last episode about boundaries and knowing who you want and really having the intention of having chemistry. And if you're doing that, I don't think it can be seen as solicitation because you're actually trying to get to know the person and you're trying to date them. And most cops, I mean, I may be wrong, but most cops are not going to continue to try to date the same person just to say then that they were soliciting. That just doesn't make sense to me. But that is the story about her situation with cops on seeking, and she's super paranoid about it. So she may not even get anywhere with this whole situation because she's so paranoid about how it's going to work and all of that. So I've been trying to convince her to listen to these podcasts because everybody learns a lot from these. All right. So speaking of cops, I want to give an update about my vanilla cop that I've been dating. I'm going to need some serious comments on this because I am not sure where to go with this. So just to give you some background, I met a cop at my gym 2 years ago. I hit on him and we started dating. At that time, he was 6 months out of an engagement that he broke off. And he had pretty much pulled himself out of the dating scene, meaning he wasn't on any dating sites. He wasn't making any effort to date. He was just like many people, they just were sick of it. And he was sick of trying to date. So I know that I'm the only one he's been dating. And we were dating a good, 4 or 5 months. And this was vanilla. So this was not when I was sugaring. So in my mind, I was hoping it would go somewhere. And it seemed to be moving pretty slow, but I kind of let it be that way. And as far as sex goes in bed, he was very much what I would consider a pillow prince. So that did not sit very well with me either. And I, at the time, gave him some feedback. I'm really pro feedback as long as it's delivered in a way that doesn't hurt the other person's feelings. So I let him know at the time that I really like more engagement, more interaction, more exploratory type behavior, and that I wasn't getting that. And then I kind of added to that, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I said, you have way more tools on your body than just your penis. You've got your hands, your fingers, your lips, teeth, eyes, skin, the whole gamut. And I don't know if that offended him. I was not trying to say it in a way that was offensive, but I was also trying to get my needs met at the same time. Because at that time, I thought, I'm not going anywhere further with this guy if this is how it's going to be in bed. So after that, I didn't see a lot of him, and I just continued dating other people. And then about a year ago, we ran into each other on the hiking trail. And he was super glad to see me. We talked, we had a great time, and we sort of restarted things. But by then I was already doing sugar dating, and I had sworn off vanilla dating of any kind. But when I bumped into him accidentally, I kind of grandfathered him in, and I thought, okay, I'll vanilla date him, but I'm also going to keep sugar dating, but I'm not going to tell him I'm sugar dating. And plus he's a cop. So we have been dating for about another year, and maybe once or twice a week, we'll see each other. So here's where the problem is coming in. He did end up getting a little better in bed as far as exploring a little more, being more interactive, mainly after he had had a couple glasses of wine, but that's okay, whatever it takes. So he was getting a little bit better. Anyway, the past 6 weeks, there's a real problem, you guys. He has not been able to get an erection. And he's the one that actually brought it up to me. This is a guy that normally masturbates like 2 or 3 times a day, and then he's ready to go when I get there at night. And he had been mentioning to me that he hadn't been able to masturbate during the day, and that he thought that was really odd. Well, then I noticed that he wasn't able to get an erection when I was with him. And again, this guy, he doesn't date other people. So I know it's not like he's with someone else who's wearing him out. So I am really stuck because I want to give him some feedback, but last time I gave him some feedback, he kind of disappeared. And I know it's a tough subject for men, well, and for women, because it's just hard to deal with. You don't know what the problem is, and you don't want to have to admit there's a problem. So he's 60. He's 60 years old, and I suggested to him that he have his blood work done, he have a physical, that he get his testosterone checked. I suspect his testosterone is low. Now, this is a question for the men out there. Does testosterone give you the drive and the erection, or just one or the other? Because this guy seems to have the drive, but not the erection, so that confuses me. But I suggested that he have his testosterone checked. This is kind of an issue that everyone goes through at some age, because as you get older, your hormones, you don't make as many and you don't make as much, and you may need them replaced. But it's a very personal decision for everyone, for women and for men, as to whether or not they want to have their hormones replaced. And he said he does not want to. He said even if his testosterone's low, he's adamant that he does not want to replace his testosterone. He doesn't think it's natural. He has buddies at the gym who misuse testosterone, and they really dose it very high. And I told him, you don't have to do that. You would definitely have your doctor check your levels, tell you how much to take. It doesn't have to get out of control. But he is adamant. He does not want to go anywhere near that. So here's my dilemma. Do I continue going out with this guy? Do I just sort of accept it because I know that I can get what I need elsewhere because I'm still sugar dating? And, this guy knows we are not exclusive. We are not monogamous. So he does not have a problem with me dating other people. So, technically I could just keep dating other people and have sex with others and maybe not with this guy, and maybe just enjoy his company. So that's an option for me. I'm open to that. I've known him now, it's been 2 years, a little over 2 years. And he's great. I like being with him. He's a great cook. He cooks for me. He hosts all the time. And it's the kind of situation where I stay the night. I feel really comfortable with that. He leaves for work in the morning. I get up a little later, take a shower if I need to, cook myself breakfast, clean up everything, and then leave. So it's very kind of domestic, which I kind of like. I mean, I like being with him, but I also like leaving and going home to my own house. So I could continue doing that. It would be minus the sex, I guess. It seems a little weird to me, but I would be really open to what you guys think about that. And if you think the problem could be low testosterone, or if it's something else, that's what really kind of confuses me. I don't know where to go from here. I've suggested it twice, and he's been against it each time. So I don't want to keep harping on it. And the last time I gave feedback, I didn't see him for months. So I don't really want that to happen again either. So I am just very stuck as far as where that's going. So we'll leave that there, and hopefully you guys can give me some comments in the Patreon group or the girls chat to give me some idea of where to go from here. But I will definitely keep you updated on that.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
So I want to switch gears now and talk about the Field app, the dating app Field. I mentioned a little bit about it on the last episode and even a couple episodes prior to that. And there was one of the girls on the girls chat reached out to me. Great suggestion from her. Last week, I forgot to mention even why I was on Field, because it is a kink app. And I was in such an out-of-body experience last week with doing this show at the last minute that I'm sure I left out a lot of other information and details. But one of the things I left out when I was talking about Field was why I'm even on it in the first place and what my kink is. So I'm on Field because I am constantly looking for another alternative other than Seeking. I'm very fed up with Seeking. And I'm looking for other apps where I can sugar date and where I can talk about sugar dating without getting booted off. So I decided to go on Field, which is a kink app, and position myself so that I would let people know that sugaring is my kink. That was my plan, is to position myself that way and to look at sugaring as a kink, which for me, it kind of is. There is something super hot about sugar dating and working out financial details and accepting money and things like that. So that's why I went on Field in the first place. Now, I do have some other kinks, which I'll get to toward the end of the episode here. So stay on for the whole episode so that you don't miss anything. But I met this guy on Field last week. I talked about it a little bit last week. And he reached out. He gave me a whole list of things that he does when he sugars. He's very generous in certain ways. And he let me know that right up front because the wording in my profile specifically says, that's my kink. Let me know how you provide. So he was very good about doing that. And he did say, I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for or if you're looking for something else or if we'll even hit it off. So I responded back to him last week and let him know that, yeah, I think we should have a phone call. Like, let's start it out that way. Make sure we're both real. And then maybe talk about meeting. All right. So in the meantime, like I said last episode, the Field support team removed some of the wording from my profile, some of the sugar wording. So for any of you who are thinking of putting that kind of wording on Field, you do have to be careful because I think someone reported me, but they removed some of the sugar wording on the public part of the profile. They left the sugar wording on the private profile. And in the meantime, that's when this guy reached out to me. So we did schedule a call. We had a brief call about 3 days ago. And here's where it got a little bit weird. So again, I'm open to your comments about this, but he gave me what I am pretty sure was a Google Voice number. I gave him my Google number. He called me at the time we talked about, and he was driving from Phoenix to Tempe which is about, I think he said he had like a 45-minute drive. And the phone connection was awful. I couldn't hardly hear him. He kept breaking up. It was really distracting. And I told him a couple times, I'm not sure what's going on here, but we don't have a good phone connection. So he got kind of frustrated and he said, okay, let me call you on a different number. So he called me on his regular real number, which was kind of good for me because then during the call, I'm sitting there typing it into Google and looking him up so that I knew he was a real person and where he lived and all of that. So I knew he was legit. It also said his age. And, we talked last time about people lying about their age on Seeking. So I already knew a lot about him as we were talking. We had about maybe a 20-minute phone conversation while he was driving. The connection on the phone still was not very good. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, but we decided that we liked each other enough to want to meet. And so I said to him, since he was driving, I said, I'll message you some availability. And he said, okay, can we make it for next week? Because this week is really busy for me. I said, okay. So the next day, so now 2 days ago, I messaged him within the Field app, because at that point I had 3 pieces of contact information for him. I had the Google number, the real number, and the Field message area. And I never really asked him where I should message him. So I don't like messaging right off the bat to someone's real number unless they say that's okay, or unless they tell me to do it or not to do it. I just didn't want to assume that was okay. So prior to that, we had always been messaging within the Field app. So messaged him there, gave him 3 or 4 different times for next week. And then, said, I enjoyed talking to you. Here's some availability. Have a great day. So that was 2 days ago. And I have not heard anything back. So here is where the games begin, because then you start to wonder, was he just saying he wanted to get together and he really didn't? Or did he really want to get together, but then he changed his mind later on and didn't tell me? Or like all this stuff goes through your head. So I am still waiting. And normally, if somebody doesn't get back to me in a couple days, I block them. You've probably heard me and Marcus talk about this. I block at the drop of a hat, and he does not. Normally, I just, I don't want the extra texts laying around. I just keep my texts and my messages clean. I don't want to keep looking at it, wondering, is he going to reach out? Normally, I block. So I have not done that yet. I am wondering a couple things. Did he not see the text yet, the message in Field? And the reason I say that is because Field does not notify you by email when you get a message like Seeking does. You'll get an email from Seeking when someone leaves you a message. Field does not do that. The app, I believe, is supposed to light up when you get a message, but mine stays lit up all the time, whether I get a message or not. Like the app is really, all these apps leave a lot to be desired. So if it does that for me, I'm wondering if it does that for other people. And if it's doing it for him, maybe he doesn't know there's a message out there. Maybe he doesn't check it. He did tell me he had a busy week this week. That's why he couldn't meet with me. So maybe he's just busy. So all these things are going through my head, and I'm not sure if I should reach back out a second time. I still have both of his other phone numbers, but I'm not one to chase anybody. I am busy in my life. I am busy in my dating life. I have other messages from people who do respond back quicker. So I don't really want to chase anyone and put that kind of time into it. So right now I'm in a holding pattern, just waiting on, what to do about that. So I could use some thoughts and opinions about the field guy, just to see what you guys think about that. But it actually brings me to the next topic regarding texting and texting protocol. So someone who listened to the episode last week, a young woman, reached out to me privately with a question. And I did invite people to do that, so that's perfectly fine to reach out to me if you have a question. Her question, so she's kind of new also to sugaring and these apps. Her question involved texting and texting protocol, which kind of ties into this thing with this guy from Field. She said that she finds herself texting all the time and following up all the time with these guys and like really trying to prompt them and remind them and things like that so that they can go out. And she asked, how often should I be texting? How often should I be following up? And, at the moment I'm having the same dilemma. Like normally I would not follow up. Normally I would just block. But it reminds me of a book that I read. I talked about it a couple weeks ago on this podcast. It's a book about etiquette. And the book is called Mind Your Manners. And it's by Sarah Jane Ho. Yes, you heard that right. Sarah Jane Ho. That is her name. And it's actually a great book. She has all kinds of etiquette in this book. She's an etiquette instructor. And it not only talks about dating etiquette, but other types of etiquette for your life, for how do you act when you're around a group of people? How do you act when you're at dinner with a group of people? Should you open the door for anyone, no matter who it is, if it's same sex, different sex? So she goes through all these things and all this behavior that you should have. And she has a very specific area about texting. So her opinion is that you should text the person the initial time, the first time, and then you should always assume, if you don't hear back, you should assume that they did not receive the text. And you should text a second time after 2 days. So that is her advice on texting protocol, especially in the dating world. Text the first time. If you don't hear anything, assume they didn't get it. Wait 2 days, text again. And then if you don't hear anything after, again, 2 days, then you assume they're not going to text back. And then you can do whatever you want. You can block them. You can keep them in your contacts, but don't reach back out again. So I'm curious as to your opinion about that and what all of you do when it comes to texting, because in this case, if I follow that advice, today is the second day for the field guy. I should text him again and just follow up. And then if I don't hear from him within 2 days after today, I should assume that he doesn't want to move forward. And then I would block him. That's what I would do. So anyway, that's what I answered back to this young woman who reached out to me. I just kind of gave her the name of that book, Mind Your Manners by Sarah Jane Ho, and I let her know what that author recommends as far as following up for texting. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm still learning here also, but I know I don't like to chase people, and there's so many other options that it's easy to just move on. So curious about what all of you normally do with things like that. And I know I could text him back and then not block him and just maybe delete the text out of my string of texts and leave him in my contacts.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
One of the reasons I do not like leaving a lot of text messages in my string of texts is because I am known to send the wrong text to the wrong person. It has been so embarrassing. And I've done that because I've skipped around in my text messages and I clicked on the wrong one, I guess, opened up the wrong one, or I had two open at the same time and I put the answer in the wrong one. It's been horribly, horribly embarrassing. So that's why I don't like to leave a bunch of old texts in my phone. And then I just go one step further and block people because I don't want to leave people in my phone who I don't communicate with. Okay, so that's that. So now you have some updates on my vanilla cop guy and my field guy. All right, so the other thing I want to talk about is the word bi-curious. All right, so that word has come up a couple times for me in the past few days. And since I'm still kind of new to all of this, I'm not sure. When I hear some of these terms, I make an assumption, and then sometimes I find out differently. So I thought bi-curious meant that person was interested in homosexuality, that man or woman, interested in people from the opposite sex. But I'm mainly referring to men because I've been seeing it in field when I try to connect with men. I see that they sometimes have said they are bi-curious. So I thought for them that meant they are interested in homosexuality. So I had someone connect with me yesterday on field who his profile said bi-curious. And I asked him about it. I don't know how I asked him, something like, or can you say more to me about that? I think that's how I asked him, so that I could try to understand if he was actually gay or bisexual. I wasn't sure. So he messaged back and he said that for him, what bi-curious means is that he is okay participating in a threesome with, meaning one woman and him and another man. So 3 people, 2 men, 1 woman, and that he's okay being, I think he said being touched by another man, and that's okay with him, and that some men shy away from that they could be with another man and woman, but they don't want the other man to touch them. So it's really getting into the weeds on this because it's really confusing to me. I thought that in a male, female, male threesome, the only people having sex were the men with the women. But now I'm wondering, do the 2 men also have sex during that time? So I couldn't find anything on it when I tried to look it up, but I might not have been using the right keywords. The reason I'm curious about this, and here's where we get more into my kink, I have always had a fantasy of being with two men at the same time. And being raised Catholic, like you're not even allowed to think about that kind of stuff or want that kind of stuff, much less talk about it, much less seek it out. So to me, that would be an MFM kind of situation, male, female, male. But in my fantasy or kink, it would not be the men having sex with each other. It would be the men having sex with me, where like everything is centered around me. So if that's the case, and if two bi-curious men are in that threesome, are they also having sex? Because then it becomes not about me, and I want it to be about me. So I'm super confused. So if anybody could clarify that, that would be really helpful. Or maybe it's just different depending on who you talk to. Like this guy from Field that said he's bi-curious, it sounds like he'd be okay if there were sex between any of the three. It wouldn't matter. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe you have to talk about it in advance and figure it out ahead of time and agree ahead of time on how it's going to be so that there's no confusion when you're in the heat of the moment. And I guess that's where boundaries come up, which we talked about before, knowing what you want, what you don't want, what you're comfortable with, and then talking about it in advance and then being with people who will honor that and respect that. So again, I'm still learning and I have a long way to go. So any help there would be greatly appreciated. But it brings me to talk about another kink that I have. So I've been dating somebody else who is sugaring me. And this person has been in my life for 3 years. When we first met, I was not in the sugar lifestyle. I didn't realize that he had been in the past. He is very wealthy, but we were vanilla dating. I didn't know that he knew what sugar dating was, and I didn't know what sugar dating was. So we were vanilla dating, and then he kind of dropped out of my life for a while, and then he popped back in, and that was still before I was sugar dating. So we vanilla dated a little bit, and he popped back out again, popped back in. But when I started sugar dating, he's the first one I called because I knew he had money. And I said, look, I'm starting to do this. I'm starting to sugar date. If you want to be involved with me from now on, there's going to have to be sugar. And he agreed immediately. And we scheduled our first PPM. And, I normally don't do intimate PPMs, but because I knew him and I had known him for a long time and I trusted him, I thought it was okay to do that. And he also had let me know that he travels so much that he can't put me on an allowance. He's just not around a lot and he's very inconsistent. So for those reasons, we've been doing PPMs. And he's older than me. I'm 62. He's 72, but he's a biohacker. I date a lot of biohackers because I like it when people go to extreme to take care of themselves with longevity type protocol. So we've been dating and doing PPMs. He'll take me to dinner and then maybe shopping, and then we'll go back to his place. We have a very, very good connection, even on a spiritual level, a lot in common. We really enjoy each other's company, but he has told me from the start that he does not want anything serious with anybody ever. He has been there, done that a lot of times with a lot of people. He has had women live with him and all of that. And he said he's just at the age where he does not want to compromise anymore. He does not want anyone depending on him on a regular basis. He likes his freedom. He likes to come and go and travel as he pleases. So it took me a while to let that sink in, but I completely get it. And I don't push on him anymore. So I'm really grateful just to be with him when I'm with him, which is usually about once a month. Where this gets into kink is that he seems like he's very much into kink of all different kinds. So he's experimented a lot in his life. I haven't so much, but I told him that I do have kind of a kink. I guess you would consider it a kink. I want to go to a sex club. And I've never been to one. I know it's been talked about a lot on this podcast in the past. And I know there's people out there in the group, in the sugar community, people who are listening now who have been to sex clubs. And I'm totally intrigued by that. I actually wish one or more of you would come on the show and talk about it. It would be such a great topic because I want to learn more about it. And so I told this guy that I would like to go to a sex club. And from what I understand of sex clubs, you can participate, I think, with multiple people. You can share partners. You can switch partners. You can have privacy, which is your partner. I think it's pretty open. Just from knowing that, I think what I would like to try to do is observe until I can't observe anymore. Like observe until it's like, okay, I've observed. I don't need to see anymore. Because I actually don't know if I could observe for very long. I mean, sex is a really intimate, private thing. Like that's the way I grew up. So I'm not sure how I would feel by watching, but I would like to try to watch. And I know I would not want to have a lot of multiple partners at that time, but I would like a private room for me and my own partner. So if I went with this guy, then I would think we would have a private room. Also, if we were able to satisfy my kink of 2 men and me, that might be a good time and place to do it. So those kind of things are going through my mind. I think that's all considered kink. And would really be interested in hearing somebody talk about sex clubs again. And that way I would know a little bit more. I'm kind of worried about the cleanliness. Now, on past episodes, whichever sex clubs were being talked about, it was also said that they were very clean. The only one I know of is called Hush Lounge, I think, in Phoenix. But if anyone has other suggestions, because I've already told this guy that I want him to take me there to Hush and to bring another guy, he is really turned on by this whole idea. He first was turned on by the other guy, the thought of another guy. And so him and another guy with me, he was really turned on by that. And he's already trying to find a guy. Because I left that up to him. I said, I've got to be able to trust this guy, and I don't know anybody who I would trust with this. So I kind of like assigned him that action to go and find somebody who could do a three-way with me. And then when I brought up the sex club idea, I sent him the link to Hush. I did not hear back. Now, he and I, we don't have a normal communication cadence. Sometimes we'll go a month without communicating. Other times it's several times a week. It just depends. So I sent him the link. He didn't respond about that. And I am still waiting to see. So what I would like to know from those of you out there, do you know of 1 or 2 really great sex clubs that are clean, safe, that enforce their rules, because there's got to be rules and boundaries, that protect the women in case some strange man in there, comes up and tries to get invasive? I would really love the names of a couple of good sex clubs in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, because I don't want to go out of the area to do this. And this sugar guy is here in Scottsdale. Please let me know. Send some messages somewhere in all those in all those methods that I gave in the beginning, the website, the girls chat, the Patreon group, and Instagram, all of that, or me privately, contact me. But very, very curious about that.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
So my kinks, I guess, would be MFM and a sex club, and we'll see where that goes. I'm sure I probably do have more kinks. It involves Tantra and some things that can be done under that umbrella, under the Tantra umbrella. But for the most part, the ones I just mentioned are pretty big for me right now. But the thing is, it's got to be with people who are safe. I can't just do this with somebody that I've just met at a meet and greet, because I really have to get to know them. The connection has to grow, which is why this sugar guy that's been in my life for about 3 years, like we've gotten to the point where we trust each other. I feel very safe with him. And he knows other men who are probably willing to do this. So he's doing some checking. In the meantime, just to give a brief update on that piece of it, he and I did a double date with a group of his friends, another couple. Now that couple is very vanilla. Nothing there would appeal, but we had a really great time and they would like to do it again. So we're going to get together as another double date in the next couple weeks. But in the meantime, I've asked him to find another guy and to think about the sex club. So I will let you know about that. I want to give another reminder of some of the ways to reach us. If you've joined this podcast a little bit late, or if you're listening to it partway through, we have a website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. We've got a Patreon group, Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. We have a YouTube channel, and we have Instagram at Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. We also have a WhatsApp group for the girls who are in this community, and that's a really great group. I love how women support women. I think we need a lot more of that. There's always a lot of good information going around there, and education and experiences, lots of great experiences going on there. If you want to reach out to us, if you have comments, feedback, if you need information, if you need coaching, they provide coaching of profiles. If you need your profile updated, so you can reach out through there and get that information. Oh my goodness, we are kind of coming up on almost the end of things, but I'm going to keep going here because I've got a little bit more to talk about. So last episode, I talked a little bit about how I checked with my doctor and asked her a bunch of questions about STIs. So somebody reached out to me on Seeking, and this was a man, and he had listened to that episode, and then he wanted more clarification, more details. about the part where I was talking about oral sex and protection. He didn't understand what I meant when I said that my doctor had two separate opinions about protection. So I want to explain that a little bit more. My doctor did have two separate opinions. She has a medical opinion and a personal opinion about protection. And we talked about how any place a penis goes, there should be a condom. That was her medical opinion. However, she said that's not always realistic. And the reason why is because she feels there is less risk with unprotected oral sex than unprotected penetrative sex. And this man really didn't understand about the way to protect himself when he was providing oral sex to a woman. So he wanted to know what is available for that. So we're kind of getting into territory that I'm not completely sure about. However, I had done a little research after I had that conversation with my doctor, and there is something called a dental dam that men can use on women during oral sex so that the man is protected from potential STIs transferred during oral sex. And I've never seen a dental dam. I don't know where you can buy them, but I think they are made out of similar things as condoms, and it's something that gets placed over the labia of the woman so that the man can still give oral sex and protect himself. And apparently she can still feel sensation when that is happening. I've never used that or had it used on me, so there may be someone out there that's listening that is a little more knowledgeable about this than me. If so, please put your comments in our chats or in our groups. But that is what my doctor was suggesting could be used. But she also said if nothing is used for oral sex, there is way less risk of passing STIs because those strains of STIs do not cause throat cancer, or there's less chance of them causing throat cancer than uterine cancer. So this gentleman just needed some clarification. And I hope that helps. I'm still learning here too. And I think some of these things are very prevalent in the BDSM communities as opposed to like someone like me who has come from a vanilla type of dating. So I'm still learning. But that is that question that he had. And I think we've pretty much covered everything today that I came here to cover. I hope that you found this episode interesting and helpful. Again, we've got a lot of different ways you can reach us. There's the website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. There's also the Patreon group, Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the YouTube group, and Instagram at Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Any of those ways to reach us, give feedback, ask questions. If you want to be a guest, if you know someone who would be a great guest, let us know. I am working on trying to get a couple of other guests here. Someone in the girls' chat gave me a couple of ideas for a couple female podcasters that podcast in the sugar community that might be a good guest. So thank you for that suggestion. And I'm working on getting another one or two gentlemen to hopefully agree to be a guest. And if you're nervous about being a guest, we're not on video. We are on audio only. You can use an alias name and just share your story. And I think even if people are anonymous, they're still worried about sharing their story because it does make you very vulnerable. But this is a real great group. There's no judgment. We're all learning some are more experienced than others, consider coming to chat with us. It's a very relaxing environment, and we can even chat with you in advance to get you a little more relaxed. So think about it and let us know. All right. That is it for today. Until next week.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront, and in exchange, shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control, with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.